everybody ready?
No, I think she needs to.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Okay, everybody set? I think most of you have my information, but for those of you who don't, I am the Reverend Jarrett Maupin, civil rights activist and primary organizer of tonight's march demonstration for peace and for justice that we're having in the city. First, before I go into any details about tonight's demonstration, let me say that I want to offer my most sincere condolences on behalf of my organizing team to the families of the officers, the 5 officers who were killed in Dallas yesterday, and those who continue to recover or cling to life. We are very devastated by that news. It has been 48 hours, 72 hours of social hell, I think, all around the country, and everyone certainly understands the pain they're going through. With that said, understanding fully the emotions of the public, a decision was made last night to continue with our protest today in the city of Phoenix. That decision wasn't made lightly. I met with the family of police brutality victims, the Cousseaus, people from the family of Remain Brisbane, people from the family of Daniel Rodriguez. Those are local cases, but also made some calls to Reverend Sharpton, my good friend, and some others to decide how we ought to move forward here, and the consensus was unanimous. We should continue with the demonstration because it is centered on and fueled by a nonviolent movement to end racism, police brutality, excessive force, hyper-aggressive policing, racial profiling, and racism in general in society, specifically the subculture, the racist subculture that so many of us have become aware of in our modern police departments in almost every jurisdiction in the country. So tonight, understanding all that, at 8 p.m. we will gather the community together in what I believe will be record numbers for demonstrations in the city of Phoenix to lead them on a march through our downtown. We'll begin at City Hall and travel west on Washington to the headquarters of the Phoenix Police Department. Each time we reach a different destination, there will be speakers and people there to address those who have gathered, and we are going to give the people themselves a chance to express themselves. From the police headquarters, we will head south on 7th Avenue to Jefferson Street, and then back east, stopping at the office of the Maricopa County Administration, the county attorney's office. Will be our final destination downtown. When we finish at the county attorney's office, we will go down to Central Avenue and head north to Roosevelt Street and enter and march through the middle-class, historic, well-to-do, predominantly white Roosevelt neighborhood to make the point that Mr. Castile, who was killed in Minneapolis, St. Paul, was not in the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time. Since that seems to be the consensus of some, we decided we would be in the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time. and challenge that sort of ideology. Once we're finished demonstrating in the residential areas, we will then return on Roosevelt to First Avenue and head south back downtown to Washington, and again head west on Washington back to City Hall. We hope to have it all wrapped up before midnight, but this is a people's protest. They are guiding this as much as we can shepherd them through the process. They are driving and guiding where we will go and to what extent our demonstrations will run, and we want to certainly respect that. I will say that we do have attorneys coming tonight because we have not ruled out strategic arrests and civil disobedience as a part of this campaign. Again, nonviolent. No one who is coming to protest that's a part of our group or an invited group has any intention of committing any acts of violence. We've communicated that to the police. I spoke to Chief Yarner, and I think we found some common ground on how to move forward. He certainly disagreed with the protest, but then again, we have decided a long time ago to agree to disagree. One thing that wasn't going to happen was me trading a breakfast meeting with him at Lolo's Chicken and Waffles for the entire integrity of the anti-police brutality movement. That was out of the question and something that was rejected this morning very soundly. The city, I think, also mentioned that they would be revoking permits for protesting. I've never asked the city for a permit. No one on my team has ever asked the city for a permit. We like the Kingian tradition, and like Dr. King and Cesar Chavez, we will never ask our local government for permission to protest and exercise our constitutional rights, our freedom of speech. We will not ask permission to do that, so I'm not quite sure what they were after with that. I think that pretty much wraps things up as far as wanting to brief you on the route. I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Reverend Maupin, after what happened last night in Dallas, any concerns about safety for yourself and the other protesters? Obviously the mayor, police chief had expressed some concerns maybe to hold off. Any concerns about your safety and the other protesters' safety this evening? Well,
you know, Dr. King said we'd either learn to live together or perish fighting as fools, to paraphrase him. There are foolish people out there, and it's hard to eliminate them from the equation of civil rights and action in the community. Every time we go out and protest, I've been threatened, members of my team have been threatened. I want to thank the Phoenix Police Department. Sometimes they've come to the post office to help me open my mail after being legitimately threatened via the phone or social media. They're there, they've been there to help protect me on many occasions. All of us, they're there when we call them. So I understand how they're feeling about having a target on you, but we cannot let domestic acts of domestic terrorism, which is what occurred in Dallas, prevent us from being civil rights activists and prevent the police from being law enforcement officers. If we do that, we've allowed that man, who's no different than the shooter at the Charleston church or any other racist or anti-American like Timothy McVeigh, we give them a victory. And so tonight, this anti-police brutality, anti-excessive force, anti-police abuses, but pro-police demonstration will move forward because it is the moral thing to do. And I think we need to prove after Dallas that the American people right here in Phoenix, Arizona are capable of coming together across racial lines to say no more. No more black on black crime, no more police on black crime, no more calls for anarchy and destroying the fabric of our country's democracy. It's time to come together, and I think contrary to fearmongers, and my friend Sal DeCiccio has been known to be a fearmonger, we will come together, I think, in ways we've never seen before and prove to the nation and the skeptics that we can overcome the kind of violence that we saw in Dallas. We're marching for Alton, we're marching for Philando, we're marching for Michelle Cusseau, we're marching for Remain Brisbane, Tamir Rice, we're marching for all of the martyrs. We're also marching for those 5 officers who were a part of a joint protest with the community against what occurred in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Baton Rouge. It's more about unity than fear, more about coming together than breaking apart.
Sal DeCiccio told me your timing is bad, that you ought to let
things cool off a little bit, that you're doing this too rapidly, that you ought to wait some time and then do the protest. What would you say to Sal specifically?
Well, it's not so much what I would say, but what the folks who I spoke to would say, the families who've been victimized by police. The shootings all had bad timing. The investigations or lack of independent investigations all had bad timing. The diversity training in the city of Phoenix that was supposed to take place until they fired the consultant, now it's been stalled for almost a year, bad timing. Body cameras are slow to come, bad timing. They hitched that to a property tax. Now we got a double burden of paying more to live and having to fund what frankly is going to record more violence, bad timing. The policy talks and the political rhetoric, bad timing. The Washington Post had a story out 2 days ago that said that since we've changed the national dialogue and we've begun to focus on police brutality, body cameras, and reform, there's actually been an increase in the number of blacks who've been killed by police, a 5% increase over the first 6 months of this year. Something is wrong. It's not the policy, it's not the cameras, it's not the timing, it is the subculture, the racist subculture in American society in general, but that which is also ingrained in law enforcement. It's time for us to drive those forces out of that honorable profession so that the bad apples, the racists with badges, the vigilantes, and those who feel like they can be judge, jury, and executioner are no longer ruining the reputation of men and women who otherwise offer their lives up every day so that we can live in a peaceful society.
Have you yourself received any threats from people about continuing?
Yes, I had a black man threaten me last night who was a member of the Nation of Islam. He was going to kill me because I work for the government. I'm an Uncle Tom, and I'm doing what the cops want me to do. So you try to make sense of that. The cops don't want me to protest. If I worked for the government, I probably wouldn't be standing out here. As far as I'm concerned, that's that same element that led to the death of the officers in Dallas. The gentleman who was involved is, I believe, a member of the Nation of Islam, the Black Knights, which is a subgroup of that, a black nationalist, very dangerous, racist element within the black community, and they need to be dealt with, much like the Ku Klux Klan or any other racial supremacy group.
What is your medallion? Tell us about that.
This medallion belonged to the Reverend Adam Clayton Powell, the famous congressman from Harlem, New York, the father of great society programs and civil rights. It's the Grand Cross Star of Ethiopia. It was given to him by Emperor Haile Selassie in the 1940s when he visited Harlem for his works in civil rights. And his mistress, Darlene Expose, gave it to me because she said that I'm in that tradition. So I try to wear it all the time, makes me feel safe.
Has anyone said that they are afraid to come out?
I'm afraid to come out. But we had a president once that told us that the American people have nothing to fear but fear itself. And who's going to give in to fear? I'm not. We challenge our police every day to get beyond fear and tackle crime. It's time for the American people to get beyond fear and tackle race. If we can do that, we can stop the killings and the deaths and the violence in our society.
Do you expect any counter-protests?
This is Arizona. Donald Trump is running for president of the United States. I expect people to be out and showing their asses, which is why we're working with the police to make sure we keep everyone safe. But we will not be armed. This is a no gun, no knife, no karate chopping type of demonstration. It is a traditional nonviolent demonstration, protest, and even the civil disobedience will be without violence. Violence is wrong. Nonviolence is the most powerful weapon that we have to challenge racism and racial stereotypes, and we will wield it with a mighty force tonight.
You say no guns, but we live in a state where people can carry guns. How are you going to control that?
Well, we've asked people not to bring their weapons. I think anyone who truly subscribes to the tenets of the civil rights movement would not bring a gun to a God fight. And that's what we're having on the streets of the city tonight. We are going to be walking with our God, with our civil rights, our tradition. We don't need guns to get this job done.
You mentioned civil disobedience. Is there going going to be a point to that? Do you feel like that will accomplish something?
Well, it's always good, I think, to measure the attitude and opinions of the people once they come out. We're pretty good at getting a read on that. You know, we try our best to organize arrests. How can you do that? But they'll likely have to do with the shutting down of mass transit or perhaps the blocking of intersections. Really just depends on the number of people that we have and, you know, trying to avoid any conflict, violence, or danger, reading the emotions of the people. It's incumbent on all leaders to do that. And so I'm urging also the mayor, who you'll speak with in short order, to do the same.
How many people are you expecting this evening?
Well, you know, I like to be conservative. Phoenix PD estimates it at anywhere up to 3,000, so I'm expecting a good 1,000 people, anywhere between 700 and 1,000 people, which is certainly more than what we're used to.
Is it 8
Did you
o'clock?
share the route with
8 p.m.
Chief Yonner? And did you share the route with Chief Yonner? Did he have any advice?
I spoke with him on the phone. His advice was to wait a week. I don't think he's saying that to the people who are trying to commemorate the lives of the officers who were killed. You have to remember there are human beings on both sides of this issue, and we want to honor the law enforcement officers, but we can't forget about the 4 men of color, teenagers, 2 of them, that were killed in the last 48 hours, and the 500 and some odd people that have been killed by police since the start of the year. Or the hundreds of youth who've been killed in Chicago. This march is about that too. It's taken a terrible toll, black on black crime, and is driving a lot of this and causing a lot of the conflict between the community and the police. So it's a very complex situation, but we're going to try to keep it peaceful. And again, we have an excellent track record. Even on our darkest days of the Remain Brisbane case, we were able to keep the peace here and not have rioting. And it came nearly to blows when we marched on police headquarters and the riot-geared officers faced off with the protesters, but a child stopped the violence and led the way. So we are optimistic about tonight and hope that peace will endure. We believe that it will.
Thank you, Rich.
Anybody else? Okay.
And it started at 8 o'clock?
Yeah, we'll be out there as early as 7.
What's the location? Should be out there by 7?
Yeah, some people will be out there. So the organizers setting up tables. We're doing voter registration. We got a hydration station because we feel it's going to be very hot still. And we have some folks out there doing security as well.
And yeah, again, the police are going to provide security as well.
Well, the police, I did call the sheriff. I know he's busy in court today, but as the chief law enforcement officer for the county, we've encouraged him to have his folks out there. You can't have too many eyes and too many ears and too many guns, ironically, on the ground to try to keep people safe. So we anticipate his folks to be out there in full force, along with perhaps DPS.
And again, so the starting location is going to be where at?
200 West Washington is where we'll start.
And then from there, you're going...
600 West Washington to the Phoenix Police Headquarters, and then over to 4th Avenue and Jefferson, which is the County Administrative Building where the County Attorney's offices are, and then north on Central Avenue into the white folks neighborhood.
How far up Central are you going?
All the way to Roosevelt. McDowell.
Oh, but again, that route was shared with police before now?
Yes, and they should be very aware of it.
So are you going to just kind of keep looping around, or are you going to kind of...
No, after we stay there, we're going to make our way back to Central and then come up 1st Avenue and back to City Hall. So we hope to have it done within 4 hours.